Lila was sitting in the famous Bridgethof Cafe in the middle of the historic city square in Maastricht, holding a cup of warm Dutch coffee and contemplating the old architecture surrounding the place. She did not know that this day would change her life. She was in her 40s, a famous writer now, but her success did not fill the void that had been growing over the years. She was searching for something, perhaps a lost past or perhaps an unfulfilled dream. A table away from her, a man was sitting, contemplating the menu. It was John, her old friend from university. She had not seen him for nearly 20 years. He looked older, but his face bore the same shy smile that she remembered. John, who had now become a successful investor in London, was also searching for something, but he did not know what it was yet. He had come to Maastricht to take a break from his fast-paced work life, and perhaps to escape the questions that were starting to grow in his mind about the meaning of everything. It was not long before David entered the cafe. He wore an old leather coat and an artist's hat that suited his personality. David had chosen the art life. He had left the business life he had started years earlier and devoted himself to painting. Now, at 50, he lived a simple but passionate life. He had traveled Europe in search of inspiration, and Maastricht was one of his last stops. The meeting was not intentional. It was a coincidence, or perhaps fate, that brought them together in this old place. When their eyes met, the moment froze. Lila, John, and David could not believe that time had brought them together here, in a small city with a rich European history, after years of separation. They all laughed at the strangeness of the situation, but they knew deep down that this meeting was no coincidence. They sat together at the same table and began to talk about their lives, each telling the details of his or her own personal journey. They talked about the past, the big dreams they had, love and loss, and the hope that had filled them in their youth. Lila talked about her successful books, but she admitted to feeling lonely. "Success doesn't make up for everything," she said, looking at the coffee cup in front of her. She was searching for a deeper meaning to her life, something beyond sales and awards. John, who seemed calm, spoke of his career full of accomplishments. He worked in London and was very successful, but inside he felt empty. "Sometimes I feel like I've lost something important along the way," he said in a low voice. David, meanwhile, was happy with his life, but felt like he had given up financial security to live a life of passion. "I live for the moment, but sometimes I think, what if I chose another path?" They then walked through the streets of Old Maastricht. They passed the St. Servas Bridge, which spans the Maas River, where the lights reflected on the calm waters, adding a romantic atmosphere to the scene. The city looked like it had come out of a painting, with its Gothic architecture and cobblestone streets. They decided to have dinner at a local restaurant called Bellevue, where they ate traditional Dutch dishes such as stamppot, a meal made of mashed potatoes, vegetables, and meat, and bitterballen, the famous fried balls.